Listen, there is a dirty secret in the firearms industry right now, and nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody is dropping $3,000 on custom rifles chambered in the latest miracle Magnum caliber. They shoot a tight group off a comfortable bench and think they are ready for the wild. But here is the reality check. When you are sitting in a freezing downpour in the backcountry, your hands are completely numb. That delicate precision rifle is going to let you down. Mud gets into those tight factory tolerances. Freezing rain locks up that fancy titanium action. And when that massive bull elk finally steps out at 200 yards, all you get is a dead click. Stop letting slick marketing campaigns ruin your hunting season. You do not need a fragile, safe queen. You need a crowbar that shoots. You need the brutal, unrelenting power of the 3006. It has been putting meat on the table for over a century because it simply refuses to fail. These are the 8 most indestructible 3006 rifles on the planet. Here is the addition for your number 8 spot, the Sako 90 Hunter. This European powerhouse slings 3006 downrange with absolute authority, built for guys who refuse to compromise on quality. I watched a guy up in timber country dump a massive black bear with one of these, and the bolt cycled so smoothly it looked like it was gliding on wet ice. Diving into the mechanics, Sako uses a dual plunger ejector system built right into their 3-lug bolt, instead of a single weak pin that can barely push a heavy brass case out of the port. These twin plungers violently launch the spent shell clear of the action at a flat angle. That completely prevents your empty brass from bouncing off your hunting scope and falling back into the receiver to cause a fatal jam. Squeezing that multi-select trigger is an experience because it breaks like snapping a dry wishbone. Touching off a heavy hunting load generates some serious energy, thumping your shoulder like a dropped sandbag. The whole package weighs in right around 7 pounds, making it a perfectly balanced tool for a long spot and stalk. But let's be real, there is a glaring annoyance with the build. That beautiful grade 2 walnut stock is a serious liability if you hunt in the thick brush, because the clear coat finish will scratch and gouge if you just look at it wrong. The damage to your wallet sits right around $2,200. For that kind of money, you are getting a mechanical masterpiece that will outlast your hunting career. Number 7, we are kicking things off with the Weatherby Vanguard. This is not a fancy safe queen that you polish on Sundays. It is a blue-collar workhorse that feeds on 3006 and asks for seconds. If you have been tuning into Scoper 360 for a while, you know I value grit over flashy marketing. The Vanguard delivers exactly that. Under the hood, it runs a flat-bottomed receiver with an integral recoil lug. Unlike round receivers that can twist inside the stock under heavy torque, this flat design beds solidly into the chassis. That completely neutralizes any micro shifts when the rifle fires, ensuring your barrel harmonics stay exactly the same shot after shot. I watched a guy out in Colorado drop a heavy mule deer at 400 yards with one of these, right after slipping and dropping the whole rig into a frozen mud puddle. It just ran. But here is the truth. It is not perfect. Lugging this thing up a mountain will make you rethink your life choices. It tips the scales at over 7 pounds bare, making it feel like carrying a cinder block by the end of a long hike. The factory stock is also pretty slick, getting hard to grip when your hands are soaked in freezing rain. Even with that extra mass, the recoil shoves your shoulder like a pissed-off bouncer. But the trigger saves the day. It is a 2-stage match setup that snaps like a frozen icicle. Street price sets you back about $700. For that cash, you get a tack driver that will outlive your grandchildren. Stepping up the game, we are bringing in the Browning X Bolt 2. This platform has been a serious contender for guys who want a sleek profile combined with rugged weather resistance. It slings 30.06 downrange with absolute precision, making it a favorite for high-altitude stalks. I actually saw a guy take a beautiful 6-point elk with this exact setup while we were hunting public land last season. Looking at the mechanics, Browning built this with a 3-lug bolt that creates a short 60-degree throw. Why does that matter to you out in the cold? Standard 90-degree bolts force your hand dangerously close to the scope tube, but this short throw keeps your knuckles clear. You can cycle another round incredibly fast without taking your eye out of the glass. Firing this rifle is an experience because the new trigger breaks cleanly like snapping a crisp piece of glass. When that firing pin drops, the recoil feels like a deep push rather than a brutal slap, thanks to their specialized recoil pad. Honestly though, there is a deal breaker for some folks. Those proprietary rotary magazines will completely drain your wallet when you need to buy spares, and you will not find them at a random gas station in the middle of nowhere. The damage to your bank account sits right around $1,200. Sound off below if you trust this rig for your backcountry hunts, or if you prefer traditional steel floor plate. Now we get serious with the Bergara B14. This Spanish-born rig eats 30.06 for breakfast, taking everything great about the classic Remington 700 footprint and perfecting it. Under the hood, Bergara completely redesigned how the rifle feeds by using a coned bolt nose instead of a flat breech face that catches on sharp edges. This geometry physically guides that massive cartridge directly into the chamber like a funnel. It absolutely eliminates the annoying hang-ups and double feeds that plague standard push feed actions when you're running the bolt hard. I ran into an old timer up in the Rockies who swapped his expensive custom rig for one of these, and he swore it never choked once in the freezing snow. Pulling the trigger on this rifle is an absolute joy because the single-stage sear breaks like snapping a dry carrot. Sending heavy grain lead downrange means it kicks like a startled draft horse, but the thick recoil pad keeps you in the fight. But let's be real, there is a glaring issue with the aesthetics. The soft touch rubber finish on the stock wears off if you just look at it wrong, leaving the whole gun looking completely beat up after just one rough season in the brush. This Bergara is a solid piece of gear, but wait until you see the monster waiting at number 1. Street price on this bad boy is right around $800, making it a killer value for the working man. Pushing deeper into the top tier, we have the Savage Model 110. This is the quintessential working man's rifle. Spitting 30.06 downrange with absolute authority, this platform has earned its reputation in blood and mud over the last half-century. I knew an old timer out in the Dakotas who ran one of these for decades, and it never failed him even when the mercury dropped way below zero. Under the hood, Savage uses a floating bolt head design instead of a rigid one-piece bolt that might sit slightly uneven. This head has a few thousandths of an inch of play. When you lock it down, it self-centers perfectly into the receiver, giving you 100% uniform contact on both lugs. That mechanical self-alignment gives you custom rifle accuracy out of a factory production gun. Pressing the trigger is an experience. It breaks like stepping on thin winter ice. When that firing pin drops, the recoil jolts your shoulder like hitting a sudden pothole on a dirt road. Listen, there is a catch. While it extracts premium brass just fine, the action gets incredibly sticky and stubborn if you try to run cheap steel-cased ammo through it. Expect to drop around $700 to add this to your safe. For a rifle that gets the job done without the flashy price tag, it is a proven tool. Entering the elite tier, we have the Tikka T3x, hurls 30.06 downrange with absolute precision, and it is built in Finland, where they know a thing or two about freezing temperatures. I hunted with a guide up in Alaska who carried nothing but this rifle. He just ran a classic hunting scope on it, completely ignoring those heavy thermal optics the internet fanboys are obsessed with. Looking under the hood, Tikka uses a Sako-style sliding plate extractor embedded right into the right bolt lug. Instead of relying on a weak tension ring that can snap under pressure, this solid piece of steel takes a massive bite onto the case rim. That guarantees it will mechanically rip a swollen, fired case right out of a freezing chamber without tearing the brass to shreds. Pressing that single-stage trigger is phenomenal because it breaks like snapping a fresh celery stalk. Pushing heavy grain lead out of a rifle that barely weighs 6.5 pounds means it punches your shoulder like a bare knuckle brawler. Honestly, there is a catch. The factory bolt handle is just too small and slick, making it incredibly awkward to cycle fast when you're wearing thick winter gloves. The toll on your wallet ranges from $800 to $1,800 depending on how you configure it. For a lightweight mountain rifle, it is a surgical tool. Closer to the crown, we are looking at the Ruger M77 Hawkeye. Built like a main battle tank, this rig eats 30.06 for breakfast and begs for more abuse. I spent a week with a bear guide in Kodiak, and he trusted his life to this exact action because it simply refuses to quit in freezing rain. Diving into the engineering, Ruger relies on a brilliant angled front action screw. Standard rifles pull the action straight down into the stock, but Ruger drives that screw at a 45-degree angle, dragging the recoil lug down and backward simultaneously. That mechanical lockup wedges the receiver so tightly into the wood that your point of impact will absolutely never shift, even after taking a severe beating on horseback. Pressing the factory trigger feels like snapping a thick wooden dowel. Sending massive chunks of lead down range generates some serious energy, so the recoil slams your shoulder like a swinging sledgehammer. Look, I know what you are thinking. The integral scope mounts are rock solid, but those proprietary rings will absolutely drain your wallet if you need a replacement. If you lose one in the field, standard rings will not save you, and your hunt is officially over. Expect to hand over roughly $1,500 to bring this beast home. Weighing in at over 7 pounds, it is heavy, brutal, and completely unapologetic. For a working professional who needs absolute certainty, it delivers. Taking the absolute top spot, we have the undisputed king, the Winchester Model 70. Known by old-timers as the rifleman's rifle, this legend has been proving itself in the dirt for 90 years. It gives you the raw, indestructible mechanical lockup of the Ruger Hawkeye we just talked about, but pairs it with a refined, surgical trigger feel that completely outclasses the Savage Model 110. Slugging 30.06 downrange with this masterpiece is an absolute confidence builder when you are staring down heavy game. I carried one of these through a miserable sleet storm in Montana, and while the other guys in camp were dealing with frozen actions, this thing ran flawlessly. Diving into the engineering, the real magic is the 3-position safety mounted directly on the bolt shroud. Instead of just blocking the trigger shoe like a cheaper design, this mechanism physically pulls the firing pin backward and completely away from the sear. That means you can safely cycle a live round out of the chamber with the firing pin completely locked out of the equation, keeping you perfectly safe when unloading in a freezing truck bed. Pressing the factory trigger feels phenomenal because it breaks like stepping on crisp autumn leaves. Sending that massive copper solid downrange means it kicks back, shoving your shoulder like a heavyweight prizefighter. When it comes to extracting brass, that massive Mauser-style claw grips the cartridge rim the second it leaves the magazine, guaranteeing a positive feed from any angle. The damage to your wallet sits between $1,600 and $1,900. For the ultimate blend of mechanical perfection and backcountry survival, this is the undisputed champion. Here is the deal. Finding the perfect hunting rifle is not about chasing the latest shiny caliber. It is about trusting the steel in your hands when the weather turns to absolute garbage and you are miles away from the truck. The 3006 has been getting it done for over a century, and pairing it with any of these 7 actions means you have zero excuses when that heavy game finally steps out. We do not do safe queens here at Scoper 360. We run tools that actually work. If you want the raw truth without the fluff, lock it in right here.